Okay, I'm gonna make a prediction. At some point in the next few minutes, you are going to yawn. And no, it's not because you're bored. I hope not, anyway. It's because yawning is one of the most mysteriously powerful, contagious things we do. But why? Let's get into it.
Is this just some weird, involuntary reflex? Or is there something, deeper going on in our brains? For a long, long time, the scientific community had one prime suspect in this case.
For years, the leading theory was all about empathy, that very human thing where we can feel what someone else is feeling. And it kind of makes sense, right? You see your friend yawn, you think, they're tired, and then boom, your own brain mirrors that feeling. And the evidence for this empathy idea? Well, it seemed pretty solid. For one, we are way more likely to catch a yawn from a close friend or family member than from a total stranger. We also see it's less common in people with conditions that affect social skills. It even jumps species. Our closest relatives, chimpanzees, do it too. It really seemed like the case was closed. But as you know, in science, a case is never truly closed. A huge study out of Duke University decided to really put this popular empathy theory to the test. And what they found? Well, it threw a wrench in the whole thing. So in one of the biggest studies of its kind, researchers got 328 volunteers together. They had them watch a 3-minute video of people just yawning. The whole time, they were carefully tracking who yawned and who didn't. They also put everyone through a whole series of psychological and cognitive tests. And here's the bombshell. After sifting through all that data, the researchers found absolutely no significant connection between how empathetic a person was and how likely they were to catch a yawn. All of a sudden, their main suspect had a rock-solid alibi. And they didn't stop at empathy. They checked all the usual culprits. Are you more likely to yawn if you're tired? Nope. Does it matter what time of day it is or how smart you are? The answer, surprisingly, was no, no, and no. None of those things could reliably predict who would catch a yawn.
So what did matter? Well, turns out the only thing that had any real connection was age. As people get older, they seem to be a little less likely to catch a yawn. But even that was a tiny clue, explaining only about 8% of what was going on. That leaves a whopping 92% of this whole thing as a total mystery.
What the study did prove, though, is that your tendency to catch a yawn is an incredibly stable part of who you are. If you're a big-time contagious yawner today, you'll probably be one years from now. It seems to be baked right into your biology, kind of like your eye color. We just have no idea why. Just when it seemed like the empathy theory was dead and buried, a counter-witness showed up from a really unexpected place. Another study, this time looking at our closest animal relatives, brought that empathy idea right back to the forefront. Researchers at Emory University showed videos of yawning chimps to, well, other chimps. Some of the videos were of familiar faces from their own group, and others were of complete strangers. The result was amazing. The chimps were way, way more likely to yawn when they saw a familiar chimp do it. And this is where the plot really thickens. We have this huge human study that pretty much says, nope, it's not empathy. And at the same time, we have a major chimp study that says, yes, it absolutely is. This is the central puzzle. How can both of these findings be true? Okay, so if it's not just empathy, at least not for us humans, then what else could possibly be going on? This has led scientists to investigate another psychological trait that might just fit the evidence a little better. Let's talk about our new suspect, a trait called suggestibility. This is basically our natural tendency to just unconsciously mimic what we see other people do. It's not about feeling what they feel. It's about your brain seeing an action and kind of just wanting to copy it. The yawn is like a little suggestion, and some of our brains are just more open to it. And here is the most compelling clue for this new theory. Remember that one thing the Duke study found, that contagious yawning goes down as we get older? Well, guess what? Psychologists have found that suggestibility follows that exact same downward curve as we age. That parallel is a really strong lead in this whole investigation. So, after looking at all the evidence, where do we stand? Well, our original suspect, empathy, has a shaky alibi. Our new person of interest, suggestibility, looks pretty good, but we don't have enough evidence to convict. The truth is, the verdict on the mystery of the contagious yawn is still very much out. So, the big takeaway here is that some of the simplest things we do are also the most mysterious. We've pretty much ruled out the easy answers, like being tired or being empathetic. What we know for sure is that contagious yawning is a consistent, biological trait that fades a bit as we get older. But the fundamental why it even exists, well, that's still one of science's most interesting little puzzles. And that leaves us with one final, fascinating question to think about. This deep, primal, almost unstoppable reflex is clearly hardwired into our biology for some reason that we just haven't figured out yet. What is this mysterious little trait, did you yawn yet, by the way, really telling us about the ancient wiring of the human brain? The investigation continues.